Hey everybody, what's up? It's Matt here. I'm sick today. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I still have some stuff I want to share with you. I'm going to tell you about three rules of client-based behavior, three rules of client and customer behavior, and these are really counterintuitive. So you might have been in business for a while and not know about these, but especially if you're newer, just starting out, you're probably doing these wrong. You're probably, in fact, doing the exact opposite. I know that I was doing the exact opposite. And if you learn about these elements of human psychology, they're going to help you a lot. Now, I call these Matt's three rules of client behavior just because they're things I've observed that I think are really interesting, but for sure, they're not really my rules. I mean, people have written about these things, and there are a lot of other rules that you can learn about dealing with clients, dealing with customers. But I think that these might have the biggest impact of all the things you can do in any sort of client or customer-based business, and almost everything is, at the end of the day, a client or customer-based. Well, everything is a customer-based business at the end of the day in one way or another. So if you don't know about me, I actually have over 20 years of working with clients, either one-on-one and then later on in my life working in settings of customer service where I had businesses and employees that were working for me. So I've had a lot of experiences just dealing with people, dealing with what works and what doesn't in terms of scheduling clients, getting people in the door, things like that. And that's where a lot of this comes from, a lot of these observations. So I'm going to give you these three rules. I'm going to save the most interesting, the most counterintuitive one for last, at least to me. And make sure you listen close, especially if you're new to this, because if you can incorporate these things into what you do, it's going to help your business quite a lot, I promise. So the first rule is people value scarcity. In fact, a better way to put that is people perceive scarcity as value. If people don't know a lot about what it is that you offer, they're going to have to use some sort of heuristic. They're going to have to use some sort of mental shorthand. And subconsciously, the thing that most people do to do that is they take a look at how scarce what you're offering is. So you could be the very best at whatever you offer, but if you don't come off as a little bit scarce, people are going to assume, probably, whether you like it or not, and whether it's fair or not, they're going to assume that you're low value, that you aren't worth that much. And the example I always use is, if you're scheduling a client, the worst thing that you can do is to say, I'm free all week. It's absolutely the worst thing you can do. The way to schedule a client is to say, hey, I have an opening at 3 on Thursday, does that work? And if they say no, you say, oh, okay, well, maybe next week, Tuesday at 5 p.m. Now, you can go too far with this. Like, you don't want to say, I'm not free for the next 6 months, especially if you're just starting out. Like, if you are in high school and you're cutting lawns and you say that to someone, they're going to say, well, too bad, I'm going to find someone else. But if you're the most famous restaurant in New York City, you probably can say, hey, we don't have any tables open for the next 6 months. And people will say, that's awesome. Treat me like dirt. And I love it. I'm going to pay more because subconsciously I feel like, wow, this must be really hard to get into this restaurant. So there's a context for all this. And you also don't want to lie. You don't want to be a fraud and pretend like you're just the most amazing person in the world who has no openings available. People are going to sense that. But there are subtle things you can do, like offering a specific date and time. And if you look at your own particular business, there are subtle ways that you can incorporate scarcity into how you conduct the business. Okay, so the first rule is scarcity. The second rule is people pay for services and return to services because of how they feel and not because of objective value. In other words, people operate based on perceived value, and a lot of that is just how you made them feel. And I used to see this all the time with new teachers because I was a piano teacher. I dealt with a lot of music teachers. And so new teachers would go into a lesson and they would try to prove their objective value to the student. And normally they would do that by throwing everything possible at the student. Like, they would try and teach them everything in one lesson. It was just very nervous, very hectic, because in their mind, the way they were going to make that student come back is they were going to just prove to them that they were the best teacher available. And maybe they were an amazing teacher, but that's not what the student felt. What the student felt was, wow, that was really hectic. I was already nervous coming into this, because most people are nervous in one-on-one settings like that, especially teacher-student settings. And you made me feel more nervous because you were coming off as anxious. You were throwing a whole bunch of stuff at me, and I don't think I want to come back. So you're actually doing the opposite of what you want to do when you do that. It's sort of like if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend and you send them flowers every day. Like at first they might be like, oh, this is nice, but then after the third day, depending on the person, they might say, oh, this is a little bit strange, and why are you showing up at work every day, and why are you calling me every 10 minutes? Like, this is overkill. You don't want to do that. You don't want to create a situation where your clients and customers feel uncomfortable. And if you have a business with lots of clients and customers, you can take Warren Buffett's advice and just concentrate on how you can make their experience delightful, because that's what's going to keep them coming back. You can be absolutely the best Facebook marketer, for example, but if the client doesn't enjoy working with you, if they don't feel good about working with you, they're not going to come back. And I found it depends on your business, but usually if you can cultivate a sense of kind of calm confidence, which comes over time, comes with experience, people respond to that usually. They'll feel, it'll put them at ease because you're kind of calm, and it'll also just project the sense that you know what you're talking about, and people are willing to pay for that. They're going to come back to that. Now again, you don't want to be a jerk, or you don't want to lie and be a fraud. So if you don't know anything about Facebook marketing and you're pretending like you do, well, then you're just lying to people, okay? But you want to distinguish that from you being the best marketer in the world, but not being perceived that way because you're trying to throw everything at the person. You're trying to prove your objective value. So the second rule is people pay for the emotional experience and the perceived value, not the objective value. And then the third rule, rule number 3, and to me, the most interesting rule because it's the most counterintuitive, is the clients or customers that you bend over backwards for are always the ones who create the most problems for you. The people you try to help are the ones who hurt you. Now, that sounds really pessimistic. It's not always true, but man, do you start to notice it over the years if you're in a client-based business. So the people who come up to you and say, hey, I need a discount, I need this for free, and then you think, oh, I'm really going to be helpful here, those are the same people who come back and complain about the thing. It's the strangest thing, and it doesn't have to be money. When I used to work with clients one-on-one, it would be, for example, people who were requesting me to work around their schedule every single week, changing the time that they wanted to work with me at short notice and things like that. I would think, okay, I'm really being nice to this person, so I'm going to try and help them out. And those are the same people who ended up quitting or leaving me a bad review or whatever it is. And it's gotten to the point now where in my businesses, I actually tell people if they're working for me, hey, if someone comes in and they're making a whole bunch of special requests right off the bat, we don't want them as a client because we don't want to work with those people. What people are actually doing when they do that is they're telegraphing to you, hey, I'm the type of person who doesn't value your time and doesn't value what you do, so I'm going to create all sorts of drama. Now, again, you can take this too far. If someone comes up to me who really is in need of something a little bit cheaper, obviously I'll make a concession, but I'm very, very careful about that to structure it in a way where they know that they're getting value. It's just a law of human nature. People don't value what they don't have to work for, what they don't have to pay for. And so if you're kind of thinking that I'm going to give everything away and then people will appreciate what I'm doing, you're probably wrong. All right, so those are my 3 rules of customer behavior. You want to be careful not to take them too far. Like I said, don't be a jerk. Don't tell people you're completely unavailable or not available for the next 6 months. And don't be a fraud and pretend like you have way more skills than you actually do. That would be wrong. But if you can observe these 3 rules and try and put them into practice in your business, again, scarcity, creating an emotional experience that people like, and understanding that you can't bend over backwards for people because it's not actually going to improve your value and what they're willing to pay you for or do. It's going to help your business a lot, and it's going to alleviate a lot of stress because you're going to be working with people who actually want to be there and who appreciate what you do. Okay, I hope you find that helpful. If you like this, you'll be saying a big thank you to me if you like the video, if you subscribe to this channel, and if you comment below, even if you just say, hey, I watched to the end of the video. It really helps. And the reason is, not only does it mean a lot to me just to see those things, but it also improves the YouTube algorithm. So it means that this video will show up on more people's pages, on more people's feeds, and that helps me with my goal of helping as many people as possible. My goal with these videos is to help entrepreneurs and business people just by sharing what I've learned over the years in business myself. So if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep your eyes open because I put out a new video every day. I hope you enjoyed these 3 rules of client behavior. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.